Welcome to South Asia Maps. This is your presenter J. Reddy. South Asia Maps is an intellectual Kshatriya channel. It is an educational channel. At South Asia Maps, your presenter J. Reddy will bring you the fascinating history, heritage, culture of South Asian region, south of Karakoram Mountains and north of Kanyakumari. Today's the topic of the discussion is we are talking about the districts in India and Islamic imperialism of Mughals. And the districts I am going to talk about today revolves around a prominent political military ruler and strategist of that time, AurangaZeb Alamgir Mughal Padshah, born in 1618, passed away 1607. These are the districts in Deccan or near Deccan. Those districts are Panchmahals districts, Aurangabad district, AhmadNagar district, and I will discuss about that today and how these districts and Deccan, AurangaZeb, Islamic imperialism all are stitched together. You will get the fascinating story after we complete today's presentation. Before I venture into that, I strongly request my audience who are following me at other social media sites such as ShareShot, please go to our main educational channel South Asia Maps YouTube channel. Subscribe or type South Asia Maps plus J. Reddy and you will see very interesting, fascinating videos made by me by a meticulous care by drawing and redrawing so many maps for your intellectual pleasure and enjoyment and learning. I posted nearly excuse me for my allergies, more than 100, nearly more than 90 or so videos during the last 4 months on varied topics, and you can go and explore them further. I really appreciate you subscribe them and popularize and make our educational channel, bring to the attention your friends and add comments there. And getting back to AurangaZeb, India districts. I said born near Deccan, died in Deccan, buried near Deccan. How all these things are tied together. Panchmahals is a district in Gujarat and south of Mahi River. AurangaZeb was born here. It is almost close to Deccan. Gujarat is not generally considered part of Deccan, but born near Deccan because we are trying to center the topic varying around the Deccan region, that is south of Narmada and Tapati River, south of Satpura ranges. Even though Panchmahals is little north of Narmada River, it will not be coming in Deccan. So born near Deccan, AurangaZeb, and he died in Deccan, in AhmadNagar town, AhmadNagar district, in the Desh territory of former Bombay Presidency or Bombay state. He was buried in Deccan, near Aurangabad town, Aurangabad district, a place called Kuldabad. That was at that time in the Marathwada region of Asafiya ruled princely state of Hyderabad during the pre-partition times. So you will know about the three districts after completion of this presentation: Panchmahal district and Ahmadnagar district and Aurangabad district. To put the context here, he is the Gomantak region, Goa, and south of is Kanara. Then he will go to Malabar and all those regions along the coast. Here is a Bombay Salsette Island and Nizam's territory. On the mouths of Godavari, you have a Yanam, that is a French enclave, and Goa is the Catholic headquarters of Portuguese Catholic or Christian Empire, Christian imperialism or Catholic imperialism. And Nizam's territory was a bulwark of Islamic imperialism. That is about that. Let's get into little bit detail. I have given the context and we will explore it further. This is the picture of the old Mughal Emperor Alamgir title, and his name is Muhyiddin AurangaZeb, Saurashtra region, Sindh region, Kutch region, and so on. Three districts here. And AurangaZeb was the fifth child of Shah Jahan and Mumtaz Mahal Arjuman Banu Begum. The first child was Jaharara Begum. Next we have Dara Shikho. Next we have Shuja. Then Roshanara Begum. And the fifth child is Muhyiddin AurangaZeb. Next child was Murad Baksh. The last child Gauharara Begum. And when Mumtaz Mahal gave birth to the Gauharara Begum near Burhanpur, she passed away and the child survived. So among the 12 plus or so children born, 7 children, or I think 7 children survived. Aurangzeb was the fifth one. There is a district called Panchmahals. There is a river called Mahi. Sometimes certain area of Panchmahals is called Mahi Kantar area. During the British time, Mahi river Mahikanta, Sabarmati river Sabarkanta, then Narmada river area is called Revakanta because Reva is the other name for Narmada river. Then Radhanpur, Palanpur, those areas are called Banaskanta because there is a river called Banas coming from the west side of Aravalli mountains, falling into run of Kutch or a sort of Sindh Delta. Those are Gujarat areas, Gujarat plains here. So he was born at a place called Dohad. So Dohad is close to Godra, where we know couple of years back the large-scale massacre or burning of the train of the pilgrims coming from the praying from Ayodhya happened. And if you take a train from Godra, then you go to Dehod. From Dehod, you can go to Ratlam in Madhya Bharat or central provinces. From Ratlam, one can go to Nimach, Mandsaur and Chittor and Ajmer. Or from Ratlam, one can also go to the Indur and Mo and all those places and Khandwa, and eventually to also you can go to Ujjain and so on. So Ratlam was an important place that is connected on the railway line running from Baroda to Godra, then Dahod and Ratlam. Aurangzeb was born in Dahod Panchmahals. He was born in 1618, easy to remember if you say 16 and 16. 1616 at 2, and he passed away in Ahmadnagar district round about 1707 March, and few days later he was buried Kuldabad near Aurangabad. Panchmahal district, Ahmadnagar district, birthplace and death place and final resting place of the last Mughal emperor. Born in Panchmahals, died in Nagar or AhmadNagar, rested eternally or buried near Kuldabad, near Aurangabad. And he was born in Dahod and raised most of his life in North India, Hindustan. His father lived mostly in Delhi and Agra as Emperor Shah Jahan. In 1636, Shah Jahan conquered lot of territory in Deccan, and there is a treaty called Partition Treaty between Adil Shahi rulers of Bijapur and Mughals, and Mughals got the territory. And there was a 4 Deccani Subhas like Khandesh and Bearer, Aurangabad, and the Bearer, that is the Aurangabad and Telangana regions. So the son was appointed as Subedar of Deccan when he was almost 18 years old. So from 1636, AurangaZeb governed the southern provinces, living at Aurangabad, that is, he governed Khandesh and Bearer, Aurangabad and Bidar, and 80 years. He was the governor or Subedar of his father. And afterwards he went back to North India and governed Multan, Gujarat, fought battles in Kandahar, across the Hindu Kush mountains, now today is in Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan and Tajikistan area, called Balkh or Mazar-e-Sharif. And there was a 6 years gap from 44. Again, in 52, he was appointed, 8 years gap, appointed as a Subedar again in Deccan. He came back and ruled from Aurangabad as a Subedar of his father, Shah Jahan. And round about 6 years, when Shah Jahan fell sick, AurangaZeb left for North India, Hindustan, in 1658 to fight the succession battle, and he was victorious in battle, eliminated the most powerful Dara Shikoh and Suja and Murad Baksh and all those one, crowned himself as a Mughal emperor. That means that happened round about 1658 June, imprisoned his father in 1658. Father survived nearly 7-8 years and he passed away 1666. And he was the only surviving the male child of Shah Jahan. There was 4 children, male children for Shah Jahan, Dara Shikoh and Shuja and AurangaZeb and Murad Baksh. All these were eliminated within a year or two by 1660 when his father passed away. He was the only surviving male child born his loins. He ruled from North India nearly 25 years, and what happened was, so in 1658 he declared himself as Badshah. When he was fighting the wars in Rajputana in 1681, January 1st, his most favorite son Muhammad Akbar declared himself as a emperor, means rebelled against his father Aurangzeb. And Alamgir, the grasper of the entire planet, universe, know what meant by rebelling against the emperor and father, because in 1658 you saw all those things. So, and panicked Muhammad Akbar fled to South India and took shelter under Sambhaji's court, successor of Chhatrapati Shivaji. And father won't leave him because Aurangzeb knows what is meant by a rebellion. So he was fighting with the Marwadis, Mewad kingdom, Sisodia Rajputs and Rathods, made a hasty treaty with them called Rajsamund Treaty. Rajsamund is a district between Ajmer in the north and Chittorgarh Udaipur in the south, is called Treaty of Rajsamund. He made it peace with them and took 1 million army with him and entered into Deccan. He entered Burhanpur, that is on river Tapati. Crossing the Burhanpur means coming into Deccan or South India, Dakshinapatha, again going northwards means entering into Hindustan territory. He was at Burhanpur, stayed for a couple of weeks in November 81, and finally Burhanpur will be somewhere here, came and settled at Aurangabad 1682. Never to go back to Hindustan again. Emperor stayed in Deccan for nearly 25 or 26 years, passed away in Deccan. That was 82. If you add 1707, that will become 25 years or so. 82 to 1707, February, March, he passed away, 25 years. In 1686, he conquered Bijapuri kingdom or Adil Shahi kingdom by Sikandar Adil Shah. He imprisoned many and he annexed the kingdom. Next year, he conquered Golconda kingdom from Qutub Shahi ruler called Abul Hasan Thanisha, and in 2 years later, Sambhaji was captured north of Goa in the Ratnagiri area or Malwan area called Sangameshwar near Savantwadi, west of Sahyadri mountain, brought to AurangaZeb, who was at Pedgwan on Bhima river near a town called Dhond Junction. He was executed, and finally Rajaram succeeded and he passed away, normal death, 1700. His wife Maharani Tarabai waged a war. In 1705, Alamgir, he started conquering all hilly forts in the Maratha regions, and after the collapse, annexation of Adil Shahi kingdom, some of the Subedars, local leaders were there. One such people between Karnataka, Maharashtra, Andhra border called Berad Nayaks. They ruled from a small fort called Vazinjera or Vadgira. This is near Yadgir area, Yadgir district of Kulbaragi or Raichur in South India. He seized their fort and defeated them. That happened from May to November or so, and his entire army moved to Krishna river for a resting in the monsoon region, post-monsoon November. That happened in 1705 here at Devapur on the banks of river Krishna in the Raichur area. Emperor fell severely sick. Entire camp, the followers, the ministers, the noblemen, generals, all were in panic that emperor may pass away, and they are deep in South India, all the sides surrounded by enemies and Marathas attacking them. Since 25 years, generals has never seen what is happening in the great North Indian cities of Lahore and Ravi River and Indraprastha, Delhi and Yamuna River and Agra, the historic Muslim capitals where their predecessors ruled. They finally besieged, requested the emperor, it is the time to go back to Hindustan. Finally, the emperor, who was nearly 90 years, I think around about 88 or so at that time, agreed for their entreaties, and the army started slowly moving from Devapur and Krishna river bank and ascended the Balghat plateau, reached the sheltered city of AhmadNagar, former capital of Ahmad Shahi dynasty, that was a splintered dynasty of Bahamanis, and they rested there, and his dream of going back to Hindustan didn't materialize. He reached around about January Ahmadnagar. The emperor was too sick to make a vigorous journey. He was not like 82-16 when 1 million army of Islamic imperialists marched to Deccan from Burhanpur to Aurangabad to subdue their antagonists. and the emperor passed away within 13 months or so at Ahmadnagar, and a few days later his son, who never rebelled against him, Azam, was nearby Ahmadnagar, came back and finally attended the funeral rites of the last Mughal emperor Aurangazeb. So that is Aurangazeb, 3 districts associated with him. Panchmahal district in the Mahikanta, Revakanta areas of Gujarat, and Ahmadnagar district where he passed away in the Balghat and Harichandra plateaus of the former Bombay state presidency, and Aurangabad and Khuldabad districts in the Nizam's territory in Marathwada region. That is the story today we are talking about. Let's go and look at in the map and we see, and remember this is the emperor finally, after conquering the Zinjera Berad territory in 1705 and let his army to graze in the post-monsoon at a place called Devapur. This is the place called Devapur I have shown here. Here it says it's a panchayat village in the town in Karnataka, Devapur. Even this Islamic inscription you can see associated with the Islamic rule. That's the imperialistic ideology originating from the Hejaz region of Arabian Peninsula, a conversion-based hate-mongering ideology. So this is, you can see here, the Devapur area where the army rested. Devapur area where army rested here. And when the army was at Devapur, here Krishna river here, and Raichur, you can see here Raichur Dome, and this is Bijapur, Talikota, the famous battle on the Don River. Talikota is on the Don River tributary, and Bijapur is somewhere, should be here, Sindgi and Vijapura. Bijapur, Talikota, Devapur. At Devapur, the emperor became extremely sick. The army, after entreaties from the courtiers, and army start moving towards North India and went there and finally reached Ahmadnagar. Here you can see Ahmadnagar here. This is the Balghat plateau. This is the Sina river, which is a tributary of Bhima river. Sina river and Bhima river. This is the Harishchandra mountain range. Historic city of Ahmadnagar. Fort is well protected and walled. Emperor lived there for nearly 13 months on his way back to Agra, which he could never make. At Ahmadnagar, when he was there, he sent back his son Bahadur Shah, who rebelled against him many times, to Kabul across the Khyber Pass as his Subedar. And one other son, Kambaksh, was made in charge of the Bijapur area, and other son, Azam, was made in charge of Malwa, that is Dhar, Indore, Ujjain area. And when the Aurangazeb passed away, his son Azam, who was nearby, came. He was a few kilometers away. He didn't even go to Malwa. He was expecting his father's death at any time. He was making very slow movements. Father was always sending the reminders to go and take charge of the Malwa, Suba and all those things. Finally, he was moved and his body was rested near a place called Khuldabad. Aurangabad itself was named, its historic name is Kirki, and named after AurangaZeb when he was the first made Subadar of the Deccan provinces by his father Shah Jahan in 1636 in the partition treaty, and finally he was buried, now rests at Khuldabad. That is about that. And here you can see the important districts. This is the British map around about 1850s or so. You can see here Bombay Presidency, you can see Mahikanta area. You can see here is called Mahikanta. That's nothing but Panchmahals. Other part of Panchmahal district, Ahmadabad district, and Anand area and Kambe, Broch and Surat were part of Bombay Presidency. In the Gujarat division, you see Mahikanta area and Panchmahals is here. He was born in Panchmahals, and you can see the Ratlam here, and you can see the Ratlam and Ajmer, and Chittorgarh will be somewhere here in the Mewar, and this is the AhmadNagar and Nasik district. It was a Peshwa's territory, and British annexed it after the third Marathwada. You can see here the historic district of Aurangabad, that is a Python, the ancient capital of Telugu emperors Satavahanas, and you can see Daulatabad area and Jalna area and all those areas. Essentially, the Aurangabad districts there. And in the historic, the Mughal map, you won't see here. You have the Broch and Kambe, Ahmadabad, Patan and Ida, the historic cities, Sirohi, Sisodias ruling here in the Mewad area. Somewhere here near Champa, there will be, this is the Mahi River. This is the Banswara Dungarpur River. It cuts through Rajputana southern part called Banswara and Dungarpur areas. That is the Wagad region and Mahi, and falls into Kambe near excuse me, and Dahod and Godra are close nearby, and finally Burhanpur, when for fighting the war in Deccan with 1 million plus army, the emperor stayed here in 1682 for a couple of months. Finally, emperor came and settled himself at Kirki, a town that is headquarters of the Mughals, also called Aurangabad. Excuse me. And near Sagar and that area, Devapur area is somewhere here, and emperor passed away at AhmadNagar here, finally buried near Kuldabad. So the emperor's grave, the very big emperor, this is Bibika Maqbara, the mausoleum of Aurangzeb's famous principal consort Dilras Banu Begum, who is a Persian stock ancestry belonging to Safa with the emperors of Persia. And this is all remains once the very powerful emperor who ruled the most prosperous, wealthiest and most populous area of planet Earth, from Kandahar, outskirts of Kandahar, to outskirts of Kanyakumari, Tirunelveli. They obeyed and paid a tribute to the emperor. All remains Kuldabad is here, the Mughal emperor buried there. That is the AurangaZeb Alamgir Padshah. The unmasked grave of mausoleum of Aurangzeb at Kuldabad in Maharashtra, and the seal of Aurangzeb, and so on. So today, excuse me, what did we learn today is about these are the Voice of India think tank authors responsible for recent Hindu awakening, Mahayogi Sriram Swarupji and Sitaram Goyalji and Acharya Coinrod Elst. And today we discussed about I lost my roots here. Yeah, Aurangazeb. So today we discussed about the India districts, 3 districts in Deccan region, Panchmahal districts in Gujarat, Mahikanta area and Revakanta area, across the plains of Gujarat, across Saurashtra, near Sindh and Kutch, where Aurangzeb was born, a place called Dahod near Godra. And we also discussed about Ahmadnagar district in the Desh territory, and we discussed about Aurangabad district where the emperor passed away. And this is the British India railway map. After the Bombay, Greater Peninsular Indian Railway built a train from Bombay to Sholapur and Madras. They also built Bombay Baroda line. You see across Surat and Broach. That Bombay Baroda line went to Baroda. From Baroda, it took diversion, one going to Godhra, other going to Anand, Ahmadabad, and Virangam. Somewhere here, Virangam here. And that Virangam, it goes to Mahashana and goes to in the Marwad region and all those areas. From Baroda, other branch goes to Godhra. That's the where that burning of the Hindus happened during 2000 beginning. And the Hod is the town on the railway line from Godhra to Ratlam, where Mughal Emperor AurangaZeb was born in 1618. From Ratlam, one can take a train to go to Jayora and Neemuch and Mysore and Chittor and eventually to Ajmera. And from Ratlam, one can take a train to Nagda and go to Ujjain and finally to Kota. From Ratlam, one can take a train to Fatehabad Junction and go to Indore and Khandwa. From Khandwa, one can go to Itarsi and Agra, Delhi and Allahabad and so many other Jabalpur, so many. So that is in brief about the historical three districts associated with the Mughal Emperor AurangaZeb, that is the Panchmahals, Aurangabad, AhmadNagar. Born in Deccan, died in Deccan. Born near Deccan, Panchmahals, died in Deccan at Ahmadnagar. Rested and buried in Deccan in Aurangabad. This is your presenter Reddy. Hope this is very informative to collect all these events together. Lot of historical events are associated with Aurangzeb. Islamic imperialism is Deccan, the swordsmanship of these Muslim rulers, and Operation Follow, and the refusal of the Muslim ruler in South India to merge the principalities, constant communal riots in Hyderabad and Deccan area, Aurangabad, where the large number of converts are present. All these are historical legacies of Muslim rule in Deccan. That Voice of India think tank, Mahayogi Sri Ram Swarup and Sitaram Goyalji, intellectual Kshatriya, they analyze their doctrinal work. And thank you very much, and I hope this is very informative to you. If you like our videos, I really appreciate you taking the time and subscribing our YouTube channel and recommending it to your friends. And see you later. This is your presenter, Reddy.